Hi guys, Paranormal Video Gamer here, and as you can tell from this title, this is a review based on my experience with Borderlands 3 that came out yesterday. Um, a friend of mine pre-ordered it. I share played with it this morning with him, and both me and him are very disappointed in Gearbox and its newest incarnation of Borderlands 3. And I'm going to go into three details on why I'm disappointed, and it's not just me and him that noticed a lot of weird things. So, although the gameplay is quite solid when it plays, and that's a big if, when it plays, from my experience, every time we tried to play the game, we had issues of the game actually force closing on his PS4 Pro. It literally we'd be in the middle of a share play and the game would suddenly crash. And this happened probably about 40 times out of the 60 times that we played the game. And please forgive the dog that's over in my neighbor's yard barking. But yeah, out of the 60 plus times we try to play, probably about 40 of those times the game would crash. And I'm not talking just shut down. It would crash to the point where the game would shut down and the whole share play system would just go right back to the main menu, and we'd have to reload the game and then reload the share play again. And it got pretty annoying, because it was probably every time we went to go load it up, it probably was every, I'm gonna say, the first 30 times or 20 times that the game was loading, it would completely just force close. So every 20 load screens, let's say, it would force close. Like, it'd be loading something, and then all of a sudden it would just stop loading and then just crash. So it gets pretty annoying when you're playing a game and you're trying to enjoy the game for what it is. So that's number one. Number two, some of the glitches there in the game while you're playing it aren't very funny, but I can laugh about it because this is a AAA title, and yet they ship it out with major glitches. I'm not talking little tiny glitches. I'm not talking an enemy disappears behind a wall, or you go to grab something and the item that was there disappears. No, I'm talking major glitch. We were in the middle of a fight, and all of a sudden, all the enemies on screen disappeared, but they were still shooting at us. So we couldn't see where they were coming from, but yet they're still there. This happened probably about 6, 7 times. So it's a pretty major glitch when you're playing the game and all of a sudden the enemies disappear. It'd be one thing if they disappear behind a wall and stop shooting at you, but this is where they're actually shooting at you while they're invisible. And they weren't invisible when you started. So it's not like they have stealth gear or something like that where they're supposed to disappear. No, this was an actual glitch. Now, I went online, I looked on Reddit. There are a lot of people that are having this glitch. So it's not just me, and it's not just my friend. It's a lot of people having this glitch that enemies are disappearing and then reappearing. In our particular case, they disappeared and they were done. They were like not even showing up. And the third disappointing thing about Borderlands 3, and I love Borderlands 2, I really do. Borderlands 3, I'm sorry, feels very Borderlands 2-ish. Now, I'm not saying the story is, I'm not saying the characters are, but the overall gameplay feels very much like Borderlands 2. Now, that could be a good thing in most cases, but there's no progression. And it's something me and him noticed when we were playing, is that it didn't seem like that they took the time to implement a system that was actually an upgrade from Borderlands 2. It just seems like they copy and pasted a couple things, and then they added a few little tiny tweaks, and that's okay. That's good enough. We'll put it out. It's almost like they rushed Borderlands 3 to the point where they kind of felt like if they rush it, they can get more money very quickly instead of actually taking the time to actually, I don't know, like taking an extra 2 months to actually go through everything and make sure that everything's working. I'm disappointed because, again, I love Borderlands. I love the series. I have all of them except for the latest one because, like I said, I share played with a friend of mine who bought it. Now, I didn't buy Borderlands 3. There's other games that are on my radar that I want to buy rather than Borderlands 3. But yeah, I'm a little disappointed. I mean, after playing it this morning and talking with him on his thoughts, I mean, it just seems like it was a rush job. The other thing that seems like a rush job, and I'll be very quick and brief about this, is the new Final Fantasy VIII remastered that came out. I have an original copy of Final Fantasy VIII, and I also have a digital copy of Final Fantasy VIII, which I love both of them because it's Final Fantasy. I like 7. I'm not a huge fan of 7. I think 7 is a great game. It's just, I personally didn't like the story as much as I liked 8 and 9, but 8 is my favorite Final Fantasy. So, the remaster came out about a week and a half ago. And I got a chance to, again, share play with a friend of mine. He let me play it, and I'm grateful to that particular person giving me an opportunity to play the game since I don't own it. I was kind of wondering how it was going to be, and after playing it, I am a little disappointed because they kind of censored some stuff in the game, and I don't really call it a remaster. And the reason I say that is some of the game has been visually updated. Other parts of the game have not been visually updated. Like the backgrounds on most of the fight scenes, not really updated. The character models have been updated. The overall gameplay has not been tweaked. Like, I was expecting them to get the gameplay up to closer to 60 frames per second. It's closer to like 30. Yeah. There are some times where a remaster is a lazy attempt to gain more money from the consumer base. And I think that this is also another example of a company trying to get more money out of a game that they claim is a remaster when it's not. A remaster is revamping the whole game from top to bottom, cleaning it out, making sure that it's 60 frames per second, and then putting it into the consumer's hands for a very low price and a reasonable price for doing that. This is not that game. And a perfect example would be Final Fantasy X and X2. If you play the remaster version compared to the PS2 version, it's a world of difference. They actually took the time and sat down and cleaned up the characters and made the environment look more crisp and actually added things to the main gameplay and improved the frame rate of the game itself. They didn't do that with Final Fantasy VIII, and that's a big disappointment. And the Final Fantasy VIII Remaster is one that I am not gonna buy until certain provisions are and certain things are changed, which I hope in a few updates they do that. So just want to give everybody a heads up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Bye, everybody.